They called him the Angel of Death, not because he screamed, not because he raged, but because he moved through hell with the calm precision of a man who believed he was doing important work. A clipboard in hand, a spotless uniform, a gloved gesture that, with a gentle flick of the wrist, decided whether a human being would see another sunrise or disappear into smoke within the hour. That calmness is what survivors remembered. The stillness, the elegance, the terrible contradiction of a doctor's composure in a place engineered to erase life on an industrial scale. This is the story of Josef Mengele, how a brilliant academic fused ambition, ideology, and cruelty, and then slipped into the sunlight of South America, leaving behind questions, bodies, and a shadow that still stretches across history. Josef Mengele entered the world in 1911 in the Bavarian town of Günzburg. His childhood unfolded in a family defined by order and prosperity. His father's agricultural machinery business employed much of the town. Young Mengele was bright, articulate, well-liked. Teachers saw discipline, friends saw charm. Nothing in his early life hinted at the abyss he would later help construct. He studied philosophy first, drawn to ideas about the human condition. But when he pivoted into medicine and anthropology, he entered fields that, in 1930s, Germany, were being pulled into the gravitational field of Nazi ideology. Racial science promised biological explanations for social hierarchies. It turned prejudice into charts, hatred into measurements, and Mengele excelled within it. By the late 1930s, he had earned doctorates in both anthropology and medicine. He married into a respected family. He joined the Nazi Party and the SS, not reluctantly, not quietly, but as a man who felt ideology aligned with ambition. His academic supervisors praised his discipline. His colleagues noted his hunger for recognition. His superiors saw a rising star. In 1943, he received the assignment that would define him forever. Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest factory of death the modern world has ever constructed. Auschwitz was not chaos, it was a system. Trains arrived with mathematical regularity, boxcars stuffed with families, luggage, and bodies pressed together by fear. When the doors slid open, people spilled into floodlights, and orders barked in languages they didn't understand. And there, stepping forward with a doctor's poise, was Mengele. Witnesses would later describe his presence on the ramp as almost surreal, his boots polished, his cap perfectly angled, his riding crop tapping lightly against his thigh. While the train's human cargo blinked into the cold, he watched with clinical detachment, then lifted his hand. Left. Right. Labor. Death. The gesture was small. The consequences were absolute. Inside the camp, he created a world within a world, a research program centered on twins, dwarfs, Romani families, and anyone with unusual traits. Mengele considered Auschwitz an opportunity, a living laboratory provided by the Reich. He called it science. Survivors called it torture, wearing a lab coat, blood extractions, endless measurements, spinal taps, deliberate infections, chemicals injected into eyes, twins dissected minutes apart so organs could be compared, a child alive at dawn, a cadaver by afternoon, its body placed on a metal table under bright lamps. Mengele documented everything, and he did it with a calmness that chilled even SS colleagues. Mengele moved through Auschwitz as if the camp itself were an enormous institution built for his ambitions. Prisoners who saw him described a strange contradiction. He was polite when he spoke, almost soft-spoken, even as he ordered selections that tore families apart or commanded medical procedures that would end in death. His voice rarely rose. His temper almost never cracked. That was the horror of it. cruelty delivered with the quiet certainty of a man convinced he was doing important work. By 1944, Auschwitz had become something close to a tidal wave of human misery. After Germany occupied Hungary, the camp received an influx so enormous that even the SS struggled to keep pace. Nearly 500,000 Hungarian Jews were deported to Auschwitz within a matter of weeks. The ramp became a scene of constant movement, day and night. Floodlights illuminated a sea of terrified faces, and in the middle of it stood Mengele, immaculate uniform never wrinkled, directing traffic with the confidence of a conductor. Survivors recalled how he sometimes hummed opera as he worked. Inside the barracks, his twin studies expanded. Children were cataloged obsessively. Height notches on wooden boards, pencil lines marking growth, calipers measuring skulls. Photographs taken for research showed children posed like specimens, their expressions empty, their bodies exhausted. The tests never stopped needles pressed into arms, dark liquids injected into veins. Sometimes, twins were forced to endure procedures side by side, holding hands because it was the only comfort they had left. And when one twin died, as happened often, the other usually followed quickly, killed for the sake of comparison. Autopsies were carried out immediately, their organs weighed, described, preserved. Cold pages of medical notes, neat handwriting, precise measurements, hid the reality that these were children whose hearts had still been beating hours earlier. Mengele logged everything. This was the inversion of medicine, a discipline meant to protect life, twisted into a tool for industrial murder. By late 1944, the war's outcome was shifting. The Soviet army advanced toward Poland. Inside the camp, whispers became louder. Rumors of front lines collapsing, of approaching liberation. SS officers grew tense. Paperwork increased. Selections intensified. Starvation worsened. In January 1945, as Soviet artillery thundered closer, the SS began evacuating Auschwitz. Tens of thousands of prisoners were forced onto winter marches. Many walked until they collapsed and were shot where they fell. Mengele did not stay to face capture. He carried with him crates of notes, preserved organs, and the records of his research. Then he disappeared into the retreating chaos of the Third Reich. Auschwitz was liberated on January 27, 1945. But Mengele was already gone. After fleeing the camp, Mengele adopted a new identity almost immediately. He removed his SS blood group tattoo, usually the detail that betrayed SS officers during Allied screenings. Under false papers, he moved through the fractured shell of post-war Germany, slipping between checkpoints, posing sometimes as a medic, sometimes as a simple farm laborer. The landscape of ruin worked in his favor. Millions were displaced. Records were destroyed. Allies focused on high-ranking figures first. But as testimonies began to surface, his name echoed through war crimes proceedings. Prisoner physicians spoke his name with a mixture of fear and bitterness. Survivors described the flick of his hand, the smell of disinfectant in his examining rooms, the casual cruelty of his experiments. Yet when the doctor's trial began at Nuremberg in 1946, the defendant's bench had an empty seat where Josef Mengele should have sat. His absence became a symbol, a reminder that even in a world determined to deliver justice, some would slip through the cracks. By 1949, the risk of being recognized in Germany grew too great. Mengele made his move. He traveled south through Italy, relying on a network of former SS officers and sympathetic clergy. Using a Red Cross travel document and the alias Helmut Gregor, he boarded a ship bound for Argentina. As the vessel cut through the Atlantic, Mengele stood on deck as a free man, unpunished, unrepentant, and certain he could rebuild his life on a new continent. South America was about to become the refuge where he would hide for the next 30 years. Buenos Aires in the late 1940s and early 1950s was a sanctuary built on contradictions. It was a city of tango halls and industrial ambition, of European cafes and immigrant enclaves where German, Hungarian, and Italian accents blended into the rhythm of daily life. For former Nazis, it was something else entirely, a place where borders blurred, records vanished, and pasts could be rewritten. If one was careful enough, Josef Mengele entered this world not as a hunted man, but as someone stepping into a fresh chapter. Under the alias Helmut Gregor, he found a community of German expatriates who welcomed him with familiarity rather than judgment. He dined in German restaurants, attended social gatherings, and re-established himself in business circles with disarming ease. The financial support from his family, back in Günzburg, strengthened his position. Their company had survived the war intact, and regular transfers ensured Mengele enjoyed a comfortable life. He worked in mechanical and export industries, traveled on business trips, and quickly learned how to navigate a society where paperwork mattered far more than morality. With time, he became bold. In trusted circles, he occasionally used his real name. That alone revealed the mindset he carried with him, the belief that the world was too fractured, too distracted to ever catch him. But the world had not forgotten Auschwitz. Throughout the 1950s, survivor accounts began spreading across Europe and North America. Books documenting the horrors of the camps were published. Names emerged in testimony: guards, commanders, doctors. Among them, Josef Mengele appeared again. Israeli intelligence gathered fragments of information. West German prosecutors opened investigative files. Nazi hunters like Simon Wiesenthal traced rumors, photographs, and whispers. Nothing was concrete yet, but every year the fog lifted just a little more. In 1959, West Germany issued a formal arrest warrant. For Mengele, this was the first true jolt of fear since the war's end. He sensed the shift in Argentina: political instability, rising scrutiny, and increasing international cooperation made the country feel less like a haven and more like a trap, closing slowly around him. And so he left, quietly but decisively, slipping across borders into Paraguay. There, under the protection of Alfredo Stroessner's dictatorship, Mengele enjoyed a level of security he had not felt in years. He obtained residency papers, moved within sympathetic circles, and continued living a life far more normal than a man of his crimes should have known. Some accounts suggest he even sought Paraguayan citizenship, further evidence of his confidence. But that confidence had an expiration date. In 1960, the world witnessed one of the most dramatic intelligence operations of the century. Adolf Eichmann, another ghost from the machinery of genocide, was captured in Buenos Aires by the Mossad and flown to Israel to stand trial. The news spread like wildfire through South America. For Mengele, it was a waking nightmare. If Eichmann could be taken, anyone could. If Mossad operatives could pull off such a mission once, they could do it again. Almost overnight, Mengele vanished from Paraguay and surfaced in Brazil, a country vast enough to hide him and fragmented enough to let him disappear into rural landscapes. Brazil marked the beginning of his longest stretch underground, a life defined by farms, false names, and borrowed rooms. Those who knew him in those years described a man hollowed out by fear. He slept lightly, flinched at unexpected knocks, and changed residences with the seasons. A car slowing outside his door was enough to send him pacing the room, whispering to himself. Was this the moment they had finally found him? Or would the world once again look in the wrong direction? Over the years, a network of sympathizers, German expatriates, former SS men, wealthy families with far-right ties, kept him afloat. He worked odd jobs, invested quietly in small ventures, and survived through loyalty bought with favors and silence. But even as he faded physically into the Brazilian countryside, his name grew louder elsewhere. Universities taught his crimes to medical students. Documentary crews tracked his trail. Survivors spoke his name with a clarity that time could not erase. He had hoped the world would forget him. Instead, he became the symbol of everything medicine must never become again. In Brazil, the years stretched into decades. Mengele aged in fragments. Lines deepened around his eyes. His hair thinned. But his belief in his own innocence never wavered. Those who hosted him later recalled his certainty, his refusal to express remorse, his insistence that his work at Auschwitz had been scientific. He carried that conviction like armor, even as the world around him transformed and the net of investigators grew tighter. By the late 1970s, illness troubled him. High blood pressure, chronic pain, a heart weakened by age and stress. The body of the man who once dissected others began to betray him. On February 7, 1979, while visiting friends near São Paulo, he went for a swim in the ocean. Witnesses said he looked tired, moving slowly against the waves. Then he collapsed. A stroke seized him in the water. By the time he was pulled to shore, his life had already slipped away. He was buried under the name Wolfgang Gerhard, a final layer of deception meant to shield him from the justice he had escaped for so long. For years, rumors swirled. Sightings in Paraguay, whispers in Chile, claims of a plastic surgery clinic somewhere deep in the jungle. He became a myth, a man the world wanted to find because his crimes demanded an ending. That ending came quietly. In 1985, investigators exhumed the grave. Forensic studies strongly indicated the remains were Mengele's. In 1992, DNA testing confirmed it. The most notorious doctor of Auschwitz had died untried, untouched by any court, untouched by accountability. But he did not escape history today. His name stands as a warning carved into the legacy of medical ethics, a reminder that knowledge without humanity becomes its own form of brutality, and that even when justice does not catch the guilty in life, memory will not let them disappear.